Okay, Assalamualaikum everyone. Okay, now we are going to discuss on chapter 11. So it is basically about monitoring, controlling, and evaluation. So we have come towards the end of the event, meaning after we plan our event, and then now it's the event day, and what we need to do is we need to monitor, we need to control everyone, and we need to evaluate our event. Okay, so now let's take a look on what we are going to learn for today. So these are the learning objectives. So the first one, explain how monitoring, controlling, and evaluating relate to each other. So can monitoring being the same as evaluating, or monitoring and evaluation is related or not? Okay, so and then we have to know the definition of monitoring, and also what are the tools that we need in order for us to monitor the event, identify the goals of monitoring, why we need to do the monitoring, list the basic steps of controlling, state several principles of effective controlling, outline the evaluation strategies, and understand the relationship between monitoring and also evaluation. Okay, so what are the monitoring tools? Okay, so basically what we are going to do before the event started. So we need to conduct staff meetings, whereas we are going to gather, or we are to call upon all team members. We are going to do meetings, whether it could be weekly, monthly, or annual. Okay, and then we need to do on monitoring for our partners or stakeholders. Okay, so some kinds of we learn from forums, or we need to make research from previous cases and so on, right? So and then participatory reviews, meaning during and after the event we need to ask, and we need to do some surveys or review from our stakeholders. They are happy with our service or not, they are happy with our event or not. So is there any improvements that we are going to do, or we need to do? Okay, and then monitoring and supervision mission, which is we need to monitor our team member, we need to check, do we need to monitor our other stakeholders and so on. And then lastly, what we need to monitor is we need to produce some reports or statistic or analysis. So as for progress reports, what we need to do is we back to our point number one, staff meeting. So during that meeting, we need everyone or the head of each department to present their progress. So they need to report, and they need to advise us what are their progress and so on, what happened, is there anything that is blocking their progress and so on. Okay, so these are the things. Right. So why we need to do this monitoring? So basically, we need to ensure that inputs, activities, and output proceed according to plan. So we have planned earlier on, we have made lots of proposal, we have made lots of planning and lists. So we need to check whether we are on track or not. Okay. So if we are on track, that would be good. But if we are not on track, that's why we need this monitoring. We need to check if everyone are going towards our the same objective and goals or not. Okay, and then number two, determine whether the inputs are optimally utilized. So we need to check whether everything that we have provided to our team members, they have utilized everything, every knowledge, every resources that we have give to them or not. Okay, and then ensuring all activities are carried out by the right people in time. So this is the time we need to check the people that we assign, they are doing their job very well or not. Okay, and then to provide records of input, activities, and outputs to warn of deviations from objective. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, we need to check whether everyone is going towards our goal or not. So they aware and they know about our goal or not. We are working so hard towards our implementation of event. And then to assist managers in making decision, what kind of decision? So we have empower our managers, we have empower the project group or project manager. So that is the time we need to monitor, we need to take some report or some analysis or some progress from them. And then lastly, monitoring is important because monitoring should take place at and be integrated into all stages of the project cycle. So monitoring, it is a continuous cycle, it is a continuous activity. So that's why we need to monitor throughout the journey and process. Okay, so definitions of controlling. So next we move on to controlling. So controlling is an essential element of supervision, meaning controlling and monitoring, it's almost the same. It has few resemblance. All supervisor perform supervisory function, in which controlling is one among supervisory functions. It is the process that measures current performance and guides it towards some predetermined objectives. So you have this current performance that you have. So what we are going to do, we are going to inject some experience, we are going to inject some moral support for that particular stuff. So that's why we need to check and we need to monitor if these people requires support from us or not. So that's why we need to push them a bit. So that's why controlling and monitoring is important. So it sees to it that the right things happen in the right ways at the right time. So we need to make sure again and again, we need to remind everyone that we are working hard towards our goal. Okay, so what are the features or what are the characteristic of controlling? So controlling, it is quite the same. Like I mentioned earlier, it is quite the same as monitoring. So it is a continuous process. We cannot stop, okay, after we are reaching this certain stage and then we stop. No, but we need to make sure it is a continuous process. We need to monitor every week. We need to monitor every month. We need to keep monitoring and keep controlling the progress. Okay, and then it is flexible and dynamic process, which is controlling and monitoring. It is something that is flexible. We are not going to see the logbook and see, oh, today they are going this, today they are going to do this, that. No, no. So it is a flexible thing. So we need to track their progress based on certain achievement of your staff or your team member. Okay, so it is future oriented because you know what you are going to expect and you are working towards your expectation. Okay, planning and controlling closely related, and it is one of the functions of management. Of course, controlling is important, and it is a strategic and result oriented. So of course, when we monitor and we control, we are actually demanding and we want some results from our team member. Okay, so controlling is understandable. Like I mentioned earlier on, we are working towards our goals, so that's why controlling is understandable. And timely and exception oriented. So controlling is timely and exception oriented, whereas it is flexible and continuous process. Okay, so and then essence of control is action. So what we are going to do is, when we controlling, we need to do some action. We need to prove that controlling is important. Okay, so now we start. Okay, oh, you can't see the control process. So now we are going to check on the control process. So it starts with set standards by which performance will be measured. So now we need to set so certain standards we need to check, and we need to have a checklist or something that we need from our staff. So that's why we need to set the standards. And then for example, we need our team member to achieve at least 200,000 for 1 week sale, for example. Okay, so after we have set the standard, and then we brief to our staff, and then we said, okay, now we have this certain requirements, and we have lots of activities that we are going to do. So I want in 1 week this whole team need to achieve at least 200,000, like that. So after they achieve, you are going to give them some rewards like that. So and then second, after you set the standards, you measure the performance. So you keep track for everyone's performance. So you check, so is there any staff, or is there any member that requires something, or what we say that is that person require anything from you. Okay, so and then you need to compare actual performance with standards and identify any deviation. So you check with your staff whether they are on track or not. If not, you need to make comparisons with the standards that you have mentioned earlier, and then you check they are okay or not. So if they cannot catch up with your standards, so you need to slow down a bit, and they need to catch a bit for your standards in order for them to meet your standards. Okay, so if they cannot meet the standards, and then lastly you need to take corrective action. So that corrective actions need to be done immediately after you have identified what are the deviations, what are the problems or roadblocks or anything related to the performance of your staff. Okay, do you understand so far? Okay, right. So why this controlling is important? So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It has 6 importance so far, but it has a lot more. Okay, so the first one, we have guide to operation, meaning controlling is important. It is a guide. It is going to guide us to operation in order for us to measure the progress. It is for us to uncover any deviation or any roadblocks, any problems occurred, and then it is going to indicate a corrective action. Okay, number 2, policy verification. So controlling is important for us to verify the quality of various plans. So we have made lots of plans. We have made a huge plan. So that's why we need to keep track. We need to ensure that we have a good policy verification of our plan. And then controlling helps to review, revise, and update the plans. And at the same time, it helps to carry out the plan successfully. So number 3, we have managerial accountability, whereas controlling, it helps the manager to be responsible for ultimate performance. Okay, so it helps the manager to assist the team member or the staff to make sure they are going to reach certain performance standards. And then number 2, managers check performance of subordinates. And then number 3, control helps them to discharge their responsibilities, meaning controlling is important. It it helps the staff itself to make sure they know what they are responsible to, what are their job duties, what are their responsibilities, what are their job descriptions. They know what they are going to do. And then it facilitates decision making and better management. Okay, so controlling boosts employee morale, which is number 4. So it boosts employee morale, which is controlling brings order and discipline. So your staff knew that you are going to reach that particular goal, and then you are working towards it. So your staff know why you are making this kind of controlling system, so they understand. So it makes them to be more disciplined. Okay, so in any absence of control, it will make your employee morale lowering down, because they tend to be someone that is not focusing their work, they will tend to be mind, you know. So that's why controlling is important and you need to do monitoring. And controlling, it can be a psychological pressure. It will motivate employee to perform better. Okay, motivates employees to perform better, meaning in this case, okay, for example, you have some team members. For example, okay, you have this member, or your staff, you have A staff, B staff, and C staff. Okay, so A staff is quite slow in doing his work, but after after he sees his friends doing better in his work, in their work, so that will make this particular person, or this A staff, will work harder, you know. It will motivate this employee to work harder and be at the same par with his friends. So that's why controlling is important for them to motivate the employee. But it is actually, it can be some disadvantages, which is it will put some pressures. But above all, it motivates the employee in a correct way. Okay, so at the same time, after you see your staff being motivated, you have to offer some rewards and you need to do some recognition. Okay, so lastly, coordination in action, which is controlling, is important because you have made some actions in order for you to go for a right direction, in order for you to go towards your goal, and then correct relationship between various factors, whereas you need to have a balance between ends and means. Okay, so that's why we need to control, and at the same time we need to monitor our stuff, because it is not something that you are going to make your staff working as a robot, but you just need to make the working towards your goal independently. Okay, so now we are going to take a look on evaluation. So after we know what is monitoring, after we know what is controlling, now we are going to take a look on evaluation. I'm so sorry for my slip tongue. Okay, so what is evaluation basically? Evaluation is judging, appraising, determining the worth, value, or quality of a project to make necessary decisions in terms of relevance. Okay, so are we staffs doing a correct thing or in a correct way? Okay, and then is our event team doing work, or they are effective or not, they are working towards our goal or not. Okay, so they are having a good efficiency or not, so this event or this team member is going to sustain, or they, or their hard work is going to sustain in a longer time or not. Okay, so our staff or our team member are going to give a huge impact, huge positive impact, or huge negative impacts toward the society. So we need to evaluate everything, not only our staff, we need to evaluate on our event. So we are going to do a relevant event or not towards the society. So the message that we are going to convey to our society or community, it is going to be effective or not. Okay, so that's why certain and some of the um, things and evaluation you need to do. Okay, so these are some strategics evaluation questions. So the previous one, I have mentioned the evaluation on these 5 factors. So this is basically the explanation of these questions. The relevance means the extent to which the objective of a development intervention are consistent with beneficiaries' requirements and partners and donors' policies, meaning your event is meeting the objective or not. So effectiveness, meaning you are doing things right, on track, on par or not. And then efficiency, doing things right, are you efficient enough or not? And then sustainability, meeting needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their need. Okay, so you need to check whether your event will give a long-term effect or long-term impact or not. And then lastly, impact, it could be positive or negative, direct or indirect long-term impact produced by a development intervention. Okay, so now we are going to take a look on evaluation provides information. Okay, so evaluation will give us some information regarding strategies. So the strategy is, are the things right to be done? So we need to check whether our planning or our strategy or our events earlier on, we have done a right thing or not. Okay, so we need to have a rational and justification impact regarding your event. And then as for operation, you need to check whether our operation are on track or not, they are doing the things in time or not. Okay, so you need to check on effectiveness and their efficiency in delivering their expected operations standards. And then does the client happy and satisfied with our service or not, or our event or not. Okay, and for learning, are there better ways? So you need to check for your event, is there anything that you can improve or not? So is there anything that you are going to give some impacts to your customer or not? Okay, so, and then we need to take a look on what kind or what forms of evaluations. So evaluation, it comes with two forms, which is formative and summative evaluation. As for formative evaluation, it is intended to improve performance, and this kind of evaluation, it is conducted during the design, before the event, or implementation phases, or during the event. Okay, so while for summative evaluation, a study conducted at the end of the intervention to determine the extent to which anticipated outcomes were produced. Okay, so as for formative, you are going to evaluate on the checklist, everything has been done or not, and during that event, is our event in order or not. Okay, so for summative evaluation, you need to check after the event ends, or as for wrap up, we need to evaluate, so everything is in order or not, so we have delivered our best or not. Okay, so that is for summative evaluation. Okay, so these are five things or five types of evaluations. The first one, participatory evaluation. Number two, process-based. Number three, outcome-based. Number four, self-evaluation or 360-degree evaluation. And last one, we have goal-based evaluation. So we need to check on the first one, participatory evaluation. It represents of agencies and stakeholders work together in designing, carrying out, interpreting, and evaluation. Meaning here, that kind of participatory, it must involve everyone, for them to give some ideas, for them to throw some brilliant, what we call that, ideas, suggestions like that. Okay, so number two, process-based evaluation. It is an evaluation of internal dynamics of project, policy instrument, and so on. Meaning here, you need to check, you need to make sure if the process have 10 steps, you have to follow all 10 steps. You need not to skip any step in that process. Okay, so you must gone through all the process, you must make sure you are doing things right. Okay, so that is number two for process-based evaluation. Then number three, we have outcome. After we have done for participatory, after we have done for process, now we are going to have the outcome. It facilitates the asking if the organization is doing right activities to bring out the expected outcomes. So now, after we have done everything, so we need to check whether this event is going to be the right event to our society or community or not. Okay, and then number four. Okay, number four, we have 360-degree evaluation, meaning an evaluation by those who are entrusted with the design and delivery of a project. Okay, and last one, goal-based evaluation, evaluating the extent to which projects are meeting predetermined goal and impact. Okay, so we need to check, or we need to evaluate based on our goal. So we need to bring everyone back and remind everyone so that they aware of our objectives and goal. Okay, so now we want to take a look on what is, or what kind of relationship of monitoring and evaluating, monitoring and evaluation. Sadly, they are not husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. It is just a common relationship. So now let's take a look. Jom. Okay, so relationship of monitoring and evaluation. Why the evaluation is lari like this? Okay, so there are some monitoring and evaluation. Now for monitoring, of course, we are going to have this kind of recording. We need to have analysis and reporting, and after we have done the reporting, then we can take a corrective action at operational level after we have done some analysis. Okay, so during that day or during that analysis level, we are going to do some recording or documentation, and we need to have information from monitoring so that we can get some information from other resources too. And after we combine everything, and then we are going to do some analysis, and soon after that we are going to have some recommendation, and we need to have affirmative or modification in objective resources and process. Okay, so after we monitor, and then we prepare our reporting, and then we evaluate. So at the same time, we will have evaluation from other sources too. Okay, so after we combine this, and then okay, sorry. So after we have made some analysis and recommendation, then we are going to make sure that analysis is legit, and we have done some recommendation, and we deliver and we present it back. So now we want to take a look on the difference between monitoring and evaluation. Okay, so okay. Okay, so now we want to take a look on the first one, objective. So monitoring, the objective is to track changes from baseline condition to desired outcomes. So from our current performance, we need to make sure they are giving their best towards our desired outcomes. And for evaluation is to validate the results that were achieved, how and why they were and were not achieved. So we need to evaluate why it does not happen, why it happened. So if our staff is performed better, and then it was, or it will be very good to our organization, and we want everyone to follow him or her. But if the result is something that will give us some frustration, we need to take a look on that. So what happened, and what makes them to be that kind of ways. Okay, so second one, the methodology. So as for monitoring, we need to track and assess performance through analysis and comparisons of indicators over time. So we need to assess their performance. We need to check whether they perform or not. And as for evaluation, we evaluate their achievement or outcomes from them. So we need to have two indicators, before and after. So we have set the indicators before, and now after they have confirmed everything. Okay, so of course it involves with value judgment, and it relies on monitoring data and information from external sources. So that's why we need to have at least from different sources, so that we are going to evaluate. Okay, and then characteristic for monitoring, it requires continuous and systematic. By a program means monitoring is a continuous process. Okay, and for evaluation, it is time bound and periodic, meaning it is one time. We can do before we evaluate before the event happens and after the event happens. So we evaluate based on time in a periodic way and in depth. Of course, we need to evaluate from all sides. Okay, and we require internal and external evaluators and partners. So as for users, for monitoring, it will alert the managers and problem in performance, provides option for corrective actions, and helps in demonstrate accountability. While for evaluation, it provides managers, stakeholder with strategy and policy options, provide basis for learning, and demonstrates accountability. It almost the same. Okay, so why we need to do this monitoring and evaluation? Because for monitoring, we need to observe, we need to check, we need to record, we need to have day-to-day decisions. So if there any wrongdoings of our staff or our team member, we can do a corrective actions immediately. Okay, so at the same time, we need to provide info for some evaluation. So as for evaluation, we need to do this evaluation because we need to judge, we need to give some value, we need to make sure it is going to give a huge impact and measure decision, and also we can provide some info for planning. So when we are going to do this monitoring, it is a continuous system, and we need to do during the implementation, while for evaluation, we need to do before and after, and it comes in a periodic table or periodic way. Okay, so key uses of monitoring and evaluation, meaning this monitoring and evaluation, it will improve the performance of ongoing project, meaning you will have some accountability of the team member. We will warn on deviation from goals. We need to have a performance reporting. We are going to know, we know that what are the activities that our staff or our team members are doing right now, and then we can review their input, activities and results, and it will lead to decision making, which is we will of course improve our implementation in a periodic review and improve on planning. So now what to monitor? So of course, it will focus on key needs of management and different stakeholders, and we are going to maintain minimum accountability and transparency standard, meaning we are not going to have a huge gap between um, management and also staff. And lastly, it will it will give some key outputs of the project and also progress. So I think that's all for today's chapter. It is basically about monitoring, controlling, and how we are going to evaluate people. We are going to evaluate our event towards the end of the implementation. Okay, so if you have any questions regarding this chapter, do not hesitate to WhatsApp or PM me personally. Okay, so I think that's all for today's chapter. That's all from me for today, or as of now. So I will continue to our next chapter, and that's all from me. Thank you very much. Bye bye.